All right, now it's time to cut the subfloor and install it. And for subfloor we chose plywood that's pine, 3/4 inch thick. I didn't want to do the Advantech OSB because I have bad experience with it. The previous owner had put it in the bus, but the bus had leaky windows, so some water got on the OSB and all the edges were swollen, warped. It was horrible and I had to throw it out. So I don't trust OSB anymore. Even though people put it in houses, they swear by it, I do not trust it. I saw it with my own eyes. So now I'm just getting the pine plywood and I'll varnish it to give it some protection from water if there is any leaks ever in the bus. Right now there's no leaks. So you can cut it with the jigsaw or the circular saw. You can even use one of these tools that serves as a guide for your saw. But I'm just gonna try to do it with a circular saw without the guide. It doesn't have to be exactly precise. You know, this is gonna be a subfloor. I have to cut it. I have to cut this piece off because the bus is this wide. It's like 86 3/4 wide subfloor, so this is extra. All right. Oh, this blade completely warped. I have a better blade, but it's dull. So this is like a fine blade for fine cuts, and it's totally warped. I have to replace it. I'm gonna try a jigsaw. All right. It makes the edge a little rough with the jigsaw, but it's better than this damaged blade on the circular saw. The sawdust off of the board. Oh, it's getting position. I'm starting from the back and working my way forward. I do have one I already put up front, but that was kind of, it had a little damage on her, so I didn't want to put it in the back here where the water tank is. Okay, there we go. I need to lay it down, but I'm not on the other side. I'm just gonna let it go. There we go. That's good. All right. There we go. You guys see that? It's dark. Nice. It fits well. It's right, ends right on the 2x4 in the middle. As planned. Looking good. All right, hope you can see this. So this one piece of plywood, I have to cut a rectangle hole because that's where the opening in the floor is to have access to above the fuel tank, where the fuel pickup is and maybe the fuel gauge. So I drew out the rectangle, measured exactly where it should be, and then I drilled a hole with a drill, and I'm going to use the jigsaw to cut it out. I got to drill another hole in the opposite corner of the first hole so I can do the straight lines, 2 straight lines. There we go. Here we go. It fits well. It fits well. It's a little bit on the right side. It should have been a little longer, but it's good. Nice. This is coming along well. Now that I laid all the pieces of subfloor down, I gotta screw them in. But before I start screwing, I wanna mark the center, the 2 feet line on each plywood piece, because I have a 2x2 framing under it that I wanna screw into, right? So I just measured 2 feet from the edge, from any one of those 2 edges. That's gonna be the center of the 2x2 underneath. And I just gotta draw a line across. That way I know I can easily put the screws there. And it will hit right the middle of the 2x2. Okay. The screws that I chose for the subfloor are these 2-inch deck screws, size 10, and they are very nice. Look, they got a thread going all through the body, and I'm just screwing them with my impact driver. Making sure they're flush, and I don't want to, I'm trying to screw them not next to the previous piece for structural, you know, because then you have 2 screws splitting the subfloor down, and the framing, they're like next to each other, kind of weaken it. Might not be really necessary, doesn't probably matter, but you know, I'm offsetting them. And you can even have like a little piece of wood here too, so you can put them the same distance. And now we got that middle of the subfloor piece where I drew the line. And now I'm putting plywood on the stairs, but I'm using 1/2-inch plywood there. I don't need to use 3/4 inch, it's too thick and just gonna raise everything and make everything smaller. So 1/2-inch plywood is good enough, and I'm doing these vertical pieces first, you see, those, and then I'm gonna do, of course, all on the side as well, and then I'm gonna add the horizontal pieces after that. I'm just cutting them with a jigsaw, really. And over here I got these 1.25-inch long deck screws that I'm just using to screw these vertical pieces in. I've marked over here the center of the 2x2 behind, so I know where to put the screw. There we go. That's solid. This is how it looks like with all the vertical pieces in place. Now these ones on the side I did out of 1 piece. Over here as well. And now I just have these 3 horizontal pieces that I need to do. And now I just did this first horizontal piece, and you know, I got 2 more here, same thing. Alright, the subfloor is installed. I decided to put these the 2-inch deck screws about a foot apart. You can see, right, instead of 2 feet like I originally started. That's how it's looking. We got the access here to the top of the fuel tank. There we go. I was able to cut this piece that goes around the doghouse and above the steps. I was able to cut that all out from one piece of plywood, and it fits pretty well there. And here is how it looks on the steps. The steps here, I used 1/2-inch plywood, and the subfloor is 3/4 inch. I didn't need 3/4 on the steps because the studs are so close to each other. They're holding the steps, so it's unnecessary. And there we go. You see this, the plywood on the subfloor here is, I made it so it hangs over. So when I added this plywood here, it was hanging over 1/2 inch over the framing. So when I added 1/2 inch thick plywood here, it's basically flush here. And this is super solid. So the steps are now both insulated, framed, and subfloored, and they're not flexing or anything. So that's good. Not many people insulate the steps. I don't know if it's gonna help. I mean, I don't think it's gonna do anything bad, right? It's just a little extra insulation. I don't know if it's worth it, but I did it. So there it is. I'm happy with the outcome. I think at some point I might add some like Thompson seal on top of the plywood to protect, to make it be more resistant to water if there are any leaks in the future. Hopefully there won't be any, but you never know. But I have to put, where the bathroom is here in the back, I'm gonna have to put Red Guard there on the bottom instead of the Thompson seal. Red Guard is better, and Red Guard is expensive. I would put Red Guard on the whole subfloor, but it's expensive. So my father-in-law has some Thompson seal left over from some other projects he was doing, so I might just do that on the floor. And there's absolutely no flex. So this is 3/4 inch plywood on top of framing, and framing is 2 feet on center. So, and I don't have any framing down the middle of the bus, long ways like this. I only have perpendicular every 2 feet, 24 inches on center. And actually the 2x2s are every 4 feet, but then between them 2x4s, my bad. 2x4s are every 4 feet, where the seams, where the two pieces of plywood meet. Those are 2x4s, and between them in the middle I have one 2x2. And I did that. I didn't want to put 2x4s in the middle. It was unnecessary because wood is not as good of an insulator as spray foam, so I try to minimize the wood on the subfloor framing and maximize the spray foam insulation. I did some calculations. Some people put like foam board without framing. They just put XPS, for example, which is about 5. Our rating is 5 per inch, and where this spray foam is 7 per inch. So I did some calculations last week. Even if you take into account the losses from using the spray foam, you still have a higher R value with spray foam plus framing than XPS foam board on its own without framing. XPS foam board without framing is R10 for 2 inches of thickness, whereas spray foam insulation plus framing on 24 inches on center is R12 total, because it's 7 inches, R7 per inch, and then you have losses due to wood framing. So when you add it all up, it's R12 instead of R14.